Hey everybody, Ed Casper here. We're out in the shop today. It's towards the end of July and the crops are well on their way. Everything around our area looks pretty darn good. And we're lucky for that, we're thankful for that, and hopefully we can cross the finish line. But it's the time of year where I get to have some good conversation with customers, and whether they're guys locally, Northern Illinois, Southern Wisconsin, or folks like you from God knows where that find me out on YouTube, I enjoy them all. I can't say I've got any customers that aren't a friend in one capacity or the other. So pretty lucky in that regard. But every summer I talk to customers, and every summer it's, the markets are horrible. The weather is horrible. It's never going to get better. Broke is a joke. You name it, right? Every summer it's doom and gloom. And then harvest rolls, and usually things are a little better than we thought. And by golly, it's we're going to turn around and do it again next year. And I don't mean to make light of that situation. It's just having been in this business for so long, you kind of get used to that rhetoric. But you can still have some really good conversations with guys, because the corn planter is a pretty important piece of equipment, and guys they kind of always have a wish list in their head of what they'd like to do. Now, whether or not you're going to be able to do that, that's a different story. But that's where the conversations get interesting, because what I have found is there's a normal bell curve distribution when I talk to customers, and what they'd like to do and what they're going to actually do. A bell curve distribution looks like, and what you have is here on the one end, not a lot of participants. In the middle, lots of participants. And then on the other end of the spectrum, not a lot of participants. And usually it falls like this. On this end is, let's say, the guys that aren't going to do anything to their corn planter. And I mean nothing. No disc openers, no bushings, no bearings. They put it away, they get it out, they go. It is what it is. They don't care. Not many are in that end of the spectrum, but believe me, there are. The other end of the spectrum is the guys that are going to order a new planter. You're sitting there going, Ed, the markets are really bad and there's a big crop coming. How can anybody be buying new equipment? There's always somebody buying a new planter. And which, by the way, if you are, you need a quote. So call me and we'll quote you Harvest International decked out with precision planting. And you might sit there and say, well, my papa only quotes green planters. Well, let me tell you something, buckaroo. You need me worse than everybody. You've never seen a pencil get so sharp so fast when green finds out you're quoting a precision system. But anyway, that's not what this video is about. That leaves everyone else in the middle. The vast population is in the middle there somewhere. And they want to do something with their planter for whatever reason. They're just not sure how. They're not sure exactly what, and they're not sure how to go about it. How do you decipher? Because man, there is a ton of marketing, there's a ton of hype, there's a ton of influencers, and they're always pushing something. They're always trying to separate you from your money. So let's kind of dig into this a little bit, and I can just tell you from my perspective and my experience and the guys I talk to and what we're trying to accomplish. When I sit with customers and we're talking about corn planters, I try to keep it simple. We want to look at accomplishing one of two things. Number one is the change we're looking to make. Is it going to get us bushels? Is this change going to make us more bushels? Because we all need bushels. Whether you've got a lot of tech on your planter or you're no tech, whatever, that planter has to perform. And if we're going to make a change, is it going to bring us bushels? If corn's 350, you need all the bushels you can get to try to get more bushels times 350 to get you that revenue per acre as close to it as you can, right? If corn's $7, we need all the bushels we can get, because we need to ring the bell when the ringing is good to make up for the bad years, and the bushels are the way that we do that. So regardless of the economics, you need bushels, all right? So that one is simple enough. The second one is the most common. Does this change make us more efficient and or safer? And you're thinking, safety on a corn planter, Ed, I'm not sure what you're talking about here. Well, here's a great example. One customer changed out his 24-row planter for another 24-row planter. And he kind of went sideways in terms of technology, didn't really add anything there at all. And I'm like, what's your thought process here? He says, I'm getting too old to handle bags. See, he had a 1.6 bushel hoppers on each row. He goes, I don't want to handle bags. I don't want to go down the line with a tender. He said, so I traded that in and I got a CCS hopper planter. And he goes, it's just easier on me. And I'm like, you know what? Perfect. That makes perfect sense. That made him a whole lot safer and a little bit more efficient. That's a great change. I love that. Now, the other one, though, the efficiency part, that seems to be where most conversations land here in my neck of the woods in northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, because so many guys in my area, they're trying to do more with the same amount of people, or they're trying to do more with less people. The availability of competent humans that can be afforded, that's a tough go these days. So in the old days, you might say, well, I'll just leave that one hooked. That'll be my bean planter, and we'll just get another. And that doesn't happen around here that much. Here's a great example. I had a conversation with a guy. He stopped by. He's like, Ed, I need more. I need to get more done. He's got a 16-row blue planter, finger pickup. Nice planter, does a nice job. I says, okay. I said, here's what we can do. We can take you from a 16-row finger pickup. We can get a used green 24-row. Those are pretty reasonable right now. Get that used 24-row, bushings, bearings, disc openers, parallel arms, whatever it needs, general maintenance. You're going to be doing general maintenance anyhow. And I says, we put V-Drive and Delta Force on that and then decide what we want to do in terms of a closing system. I says, you can go from 16 rows, 40 feet at 4.5 miles an hour-ish to 60 foot at 5.5 miles an hour. And your performance is going to be as good or probably way better. And you don't have to change out your tractor. See, because you might say, well, 16 row just goes speed tube. He doesn't have a tractor big enough to go 40 foot at 9 miles an hour. And I did the math for him real quick, and I'm like, you're looking at another 200 acres a day. And that solves his problem. That's right up his alley. He milks cows. And so many people in my area, I mean, even if you're 15, 18, 2,400 acres or bigger, so many people are still doing 2, 3, 4, 5 things. It isn't just, hey, I farm 2,500 acres and that's all I do. That just doesn't happen in our area much. So everyone's trying to find more, do more, but be just as good or better. And that's where you look at these tools in the precision planting lineup that can help you get a little more control in a world that we don't have control over. You know, your Delta Force and your V-Drive are there to help you go a little bit faster and still have perfect control over what it is you're trying to accomplish. And guys are always thinking about their planters. I mean, obviously the corn planter is the focal point of the spring activity with your row crop operation. And we're right in the middle of summer here, and it won't be long, the combines will be rolling, but you're still thinking about your corn planter, because as your combine's rolling, you're looking at that stand of corn on every inch of every field. And you're going, you know, looks good, or maybe we need to make some improvements. So what are some things that we can do, keeping in mind that the planter industry is a whole lot different than it was 10 or 12 years ago? Well, in this economic atmosphere that we're in, lower commodity prices, tighter margins, I think one of the most popular things is going to be just to buckle down. We got what we got, and we're going to make the best of it. And remember, whether you've got a 6-row finger pickup with ground drive or you've got a 36-row speed tube, it still has to perform. Disc openers, your shanks, your bushings, bearings, sprockets, chains, hex shafts, closing wheels, gauge wheels, all that stuff. That all matters. So go through it, make sure it's ready to go. Our biggest goal around here, no matter where you are on the spectrum of technology, is if we start planting, we want to keep planting till we're done. So let's go through it ahead of time and make sure that it's ready to go. So that's number one option. Number two is the guys who are in a position that are coming to me saying, you know, Ed, I got to have more. I need more productivity. Well, we gave the example of moving from a 40-foot blue planter with finger pickup to a 24-row green planter with V-Drive and Delta Force without having to change tractors. And if you move from a 16-row to a 24-row, very unlikely you're going to have to change combine heads. So you got to always be aware of the unintended consequences when you start doing these types of changes. That's a great way to pick up 200-300 acres a day, not have to change tractors, and get the benefits of your technology. Another way is if a guy says, Ed, I like the planter I got, the row units are pretty good shape, but I need more. That's why they invented Speed Tube. And it isn't whether or not you can handle Speed Tube and get the performance out of Speed Tube. For me, the questions always come down to, can your tractor pull that planter at 8, 9, 10 miles an hour? Because if you're going to buy Speed Tube and go 6, you're not going to be happy. The other thing that we've had a lot of guys learn is what they thought was a really good tillage system. Speed Tube can expose that pretty fast. I've had calls from all over the Midwest saying, I've got problems, I'm not sure what's up. And it doesn't lead back to the Speed Tube technology, it leads back to the tillage and the tillage tools that maybe aren't doing what we thought that they were doing. So keep in mind, again, unintended consequences. Adding Speed Tube to your planter is easy. Do you have the tractor to pull it, and is the supporting, and do you have enough tillage to stay out in front of that planter if it's rolling 9 miles an hour? And guys say, well, I've got rocks. Well, we've got plenty of rocks around here too. And that's just the world we live in. That's life. So you can tune up what you got and be ready to rock and roll. You can tune up what you got, add Speed Tube components to it to get that efficiency. I've got a good number of guys that say, okay, Ed, I've already got a 24-row, I've already got a 36-row, I've got the technology, I don't want to go buy a new planter, and if you go trade off a 24-row or a 36, you're going to get someone else's worn out bones. Well, that's where you come in and say, we'll get a Precision row unit or we'll get a Harvest International row unit. So if the bar is good, we'll take them row units off, take the Precision stuff, put it on a shelf, put a new row unit on, bring the Precision stuff back on. And we've done this for a couple guys. The one guy I know, he was just a 12-row. But essentially, he went to Harvest International row units, V-Drive, Delta Force, Speed Tube, Clean Sweep, and put twisters on the back for closing wheels. So essentially, he had a new planter for 50 cents on the dollar versus getting a new one from Green. And that's a real viable option in the economics that we're faced with right now. So these are the conversations I have all the time with my customers. These are the things that we're trying to set up on the table to give them options to work through and do what's best for their operation, because machinery, parts inflation, service, and labor, I mean, those are as important as any other factors going into the end of this year and on to next year for profitability on the row crop side. So hopefully this helps you. This is the world I'm living in. These are the conversations that I'm having all the time. My cell phone is 309-208-0117. You want to chit chat about things that are on your mind? Give me a call.